The story Chicken Sunday by Patricia Polacco is one of my favorite stories. And I try to think of why it's one of my favorite stories, and I think it's a combination. One is that I like stories where black children and white children and Latino children or whatever, we're all kind of together. It just makes me happy. I like stories where there is a sense of the past, and like a sense of how the past affects us, who we are now. And I, I just like when beautiful words are put together and beautiful phrases. And this story has one of my very favorite phrases. It stays with me, you know, all the time. I think of it a lot of times, just out of the blue when something occurs to me. And I'm going to read the last page of the story. It is right here. That's the last picture there. Winston, Stewart, and I are grown up now. Our old neighborhood has changed some, yet it's still familiar too. The freeway rumbles over the spot where Mr. Kodinsky's shop once stood. I think of him often in his glorious hats. We lost Miss Eula some time back, but every year we take some chicken soup up to the Mountain View Cemetery and do just as she asked. Sometimes, when we are especially quiet inside, we can hear singing, a voice that sounds like slow thunder and sweet rain. And that's my line. I love the use of that slow thunder and sweet rain and a voice like that. So there's lots of reasons why this is one of my favorite books, okay? Um, Now, a teacher, I was an English major in college, and back then, the teacher would tell you, you'd assign a story and tell you what it meant, and you're like, okay, that's what it means, and there's not really that sense of ownership of what the relationship between you and the book. So I was really happy when I got into education courses and I found out that it's not about, what some teacher is telling you what that book means. There's a theory of reader response. And one of the big names is Rosenblatt. So I want you to remember that name. But I remember when I first heard it, I drew this picture. I've got lots of pictures here. This is the picture that I drew. And I've got your reader, and then you've got your book, and then between is where meaning is made. So meaning is not just in that book for the teacher to tell you what it means. And it's not just all in your head either. You can't just, not read the book and come up with meaning. Meaning kind of exists in a place between the reader and the book. And that's kind of one of my very favorite ideas about reading that is popular today. So the theory is called reader response, and I've got my reader response card here. And again, that's a theory by mostly by Rosenblatt. She's the big name, where we talk about that it's not about what the teacher says what's going on, or what the fancy books say that's going on. It's about what the reader thinks. And every reader will have a different reader response depending on their schema and their background knowledge. She, Rosenblatt, considered reading a transaction. So it's not just, from the author's head of the book into your brain. There's a transaction going on. So meaning is created between the book and the reader. The article talks about the idea of evocation, and basically that's how the book is getting a emotional response from you. Okay, is the book, or is it touching you on the heart level? Is it touching you at that place where only the human heart can really understand it? The book, the article also talks about that evocation is the lived through experience. Okay, so there were two things that talked about what evocation was, as being able, are you able to be there with that character and understand and see yourself in what they do, and be able to compare yourself to what they do. Rosenblatt's book is called Literature as Exploration, okay? And you think about it that way. It's not the literature as defining what the characters meant, or defining, what the teacher says the theme was. It's an exploration. So, and for everyone, it's different. The article talks about how important it is that you have interaction about the books and you have the chance to share about what you read. Um, if you think of meaning making as a spot between you and the book, and you have that meaning being made, how much bigger or more in depth does that meaning get once you've talked with other people who are adding what they have come up to it? And that just makes your ideas about the story bigger and stronger. And you may not agree, but it's been added to what you can understand. It adds to your depth of understanding and knowledge about that book. And the last thing that I've got here is the book talks about extension. And we've talked a little bit about what you do when the story's over, or what you do for activities that are as part of understanding. And so it's not always just a case of, you know, to draw a picture about what you want. I mean, what can the teacher do to add to the experience? What can the teacher can do to guide that live through experience for the kids? And it gave some examples from a Karen Hesse book in the article. So there you go.